Alright, what's up boys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going over the top 10 best Bloodlines in Shindo Life. Now this will be based on PvP, not PvE, so don't comment things about Xenodokai, or I'll actually just pin your comment so you can get shamed by everyone else. But yeah, let's just get straight into it. Okay, so in 10th place we have Tetsuo Kaijin. Now Tetsuo Kaijin is a pretty versatile Bloodline. Most of the moves are usable, so as you can see if I go up to this log really quick and use the second move, I won't be starting with the first move because it's a grapple move and those don't work on logs. So that does 65k, and the biggest part of the second move is that you can actually use it while stacking other moves. So firstly I'm going to show you the third move. Third move's pretty okay. I mean, it's a block break knockback. It's okay, high AoE. But let me just equip Chaos Third for an example, and we're gonna try and attack this log. And as you can see, I can stack the moves. So I actually pulled off Chaos Third while I was in the middle of Tetsuo Second. So that's why that move is extremely useful. Now that we have the NPCs up here, let's use the first move. And just like Ice and Q-Spec, it's a grapple that does an extremely high amount of damage. So it also leads you into an M1 combo, so after the initial 50k, it's really easy to combo off of it. Now, as for the mode's probably the most broken part about this Bloodline. So this is probably the most versatile mode in the game, I'd say. So we have this E-Spec, which stuns and explodes afterwards. Does an extremely high amount of damage, 90k as you saw. The C-Spec, which is a teleporting combo starter. Now this C-Spec actually goes through things as well, which is like one of the biggest pluses. But yeah, it does a decent amount of damage. I think it hit both enemies there, but it usually does about like 80k, I believe. And the Q-Spec is probably the most busted ability in this entire Bloodline. So if I can get one of them to hit me, watch how much damage this does. 100k into an A combo. 150k in total if you finish the A combo, but you can also stack moves while you're up there to make even more damage, like for example using Powder Third. Right, so next up on this list is Subaru Raiden. Now this is pretty broken because the other two moves are kind of just okay. I mean, that move was alright, it did like 50k, I mean, pretty hard to land, and the second move is just kind of awful, because it has gaps where you can get out of it. It's just a worse Minakaze Third. But the biggest part about this Bloodline, probably the mode. Even though the counter is extremely broken, I believe the mode is even more so. So if I were to block and use the C-Spec, this is a dash teleporting move. As you can see, that did 250k. That's because it teleported to every single log. I'll use that on an individual log in a second, so let's go over here. And what else I will do is use the Q-Spec. So if I were to use the Q-Spec, as you can see, it's very similar to the Narumaki clones, how they just launched, and Minakaze clones as well. So this Bloodline takes a lot from Minakaze. The E-Spec is really OP, at least it was. Like, as you can see there, instant 80k damage, and it's a stun. And it's homing too, so it's just an extremely good move. Now, let's try the C-Spec again on this singular log, and then we'll go on to the counter. So as you can see, still 80k, and I do believe it block breaks. So let's just find some NPCs, and then begin attacking them. Okay, so now we're at some NPCs, let's use the counter. Oh, I misclicked. Oh well, half of them are dead now. But there we go. This is the counter. As you can see, that did an absolute ton of damage, 260k, and the biggest thing about the counter is that you can use it during a move. So if someone were to use Chaos Third, you could use the counter and just completely ruin their entire combo and just reverse it. So that's why some people, even in this meta, use this counter. Alright, so in 8th place we have Borumaki-Gaiden, or borumaki-shiki, depends on which one you have. So first move is a decent grab move, it does a ton of damage, and you can also stack it with the second move. So it also goes into an air combo, you can make use of that, but yeah, it flows nicely into the second move, which I'm going to use separately so you can accurately see the damage it does. It's a toss move, which teleports you onto the enemy and summons 2 clones on them. So it does a decent amount of damage as well, 45k. And the third move is a counter type move where you can use it, and the more they hit you, the more damage it does when you finally release the blast. So it's kind of like an endurance test. So this is the borumaki-shiki mode, which is why it's blue, and let's just test out the C-Spec first. So, as you may be able to tell, this Bloodline's kind of mode carried. That just did 125k easily, and let's try out the E-Spec, 75k. So, the Q-Spec's actually a counter, which we will also need the NPCs for, so let's just go over and find some now. So as you can see here, I found some NPCs. Let's just attack one of them and use the counter. So this counter is a bit odd, because you can still attack while it's running, but another issue is that they can move while it's happening. Now, you saw it did 100 something K, but let's also use the move counter now. So hopefully these people will attack me. There we go. He only hit me once and he died, which is a bit of a shame, so let's try that again. Okay, now let's test out the move counter. Let them get some damage off of me, and then release it. And as you can see, that did a lot more damage this time now that I had some build-up. So basically, the more times they hit you, the more damage the move does. Alright, so in 7th place, we actually have Indra Akuma. Now, this is for a few reasons, mainly because of this move right here, which is a really good, I would say, auto-dodge counter, because if you use it towards the end, you can continue comboing them, and it ragdolls them, so that's pretty nice. This stun, however, is pretty trash, because it's really hard to land, and same for this move right here. This move is really hard to land because of all the build-up, but it does a decent amount of damage, as you see. Now, similar to Aizden, this mode is extremely busted, so if I were to use the C-Spec, it would do a similar amount of damage to what Aizden does. So as you can see here, that does how much damage? 100k. So yeah, basically around the same amount. Now we also have the E-Spec right here, which I believe is a counter, so I'm gonna have to use that on some NPCs, but the Q-Spec is the same as Aizden's also, where you mode up and receive 4 times less damage. However, this one's kind of worse because you can't fly with it. So here we go, E-Spec. Now, the E-Spec is kind of, not even kind of, it's just really bad. As you can see, it only does 4.7k, and the cooldown is basically non-existent. So let's demode from here now and go find some NPCs to test the counter on. Ones. So now that I've triggered these NPCs, let's try the counter. So the counter is basically the first move, but a little bit stronger. So anyone that hits you gets burnt and ragdolled. Alright, so in 6th place we have Ashen Storm. So this is mainly due to the first move, which is a teleporting combo starter with a ton of iframes on it, so that's a really nice move right there. The second move is okay, it's just a bit of beams, you shoot them, they blow up. Cool. The third move I believe is also a teleport? No, it's more like a Chidori with an explosion at the end. It has a decent amount of damage, but I can't really see it being used in a combo unless you combo it with the first one. The mode is kind of okay. The mode's alright. I'm able to use the C-Spec because my mouse is broken. There we go. So, that summoned a few balls down from space, 70k damage. Alright, let's do E-Spec. No E-Spec, so that's a bit unfortunate. Let's wait for that to blow up. And now let's do the Q-Spec. So, the Q-Spec is basically the same as the first move, except it's not an air combo starter. So the first move is basically what carries this Bloodline this high on the list, because it's just a really, really good combo starter. Just the fact that it provides so much iframes and a speed boost if you miss it also. So in 5th place and the first Ikiji on our list, we have Getsuga. Now this is actually, I'd say it's an underrated Bloodline, because even though it's a Gen 3 Bloodline, nobody really uses it in the meta anymore, and that's quite disappointing since it's really good. So if we see here this grab move, it's hard to hit by itself, but if you do manage to hit it, it combos with other Bloodlines very well. Also, this second move cancels grapples, and it also block breaks, and it's a chase move. So that's a 3-in-1 right there, and it does about 60k. You can see the entire amount of damage on this log because the log didn't get knocked back with the beam. And another thing about the second move is that if it gets cancelled by a push move, it still activates, which is extremely nice. So if I were to use the third move is kind of bad in all honesty because it stuns you in mid-air, and you can't really do anything apart from throw shurikens. So if you're in a team fight, you're kind of gonna get, like, absolutely demolished. but the mode as well is really good. Now, I think the mode might be stronger than Eisden at the moment. I might be wrong, but let's give it a try. Let's try the C-Spec, if I can land it, that is. There we go. So the C-Spec, as you can see right here, it does 124k, which is actually, I believe, more than Eisden. But yeah, we also have the Q-Spec, and I believe the Q-Spec does a lot more damage than the C-Spec. Oh, sorry. I mean the E-Spec in the Q-Spec. Oh, never mind. It just did 110k. So that's still a lot of damage. I was expecting more, about like 200k. But even so, this Bloodline stays in this area. So if I were to use this E-Spec right now... Oh, it's not even a counter. I forgot. This is a really OP move, by the way. Like, because it's a mix between the grab and a grapple. So it's really good for extending combos. I forgot this had no counter, in all honesty, but yeah, that move is super OP. That's probably the best move in this Bloodline, in all honesty. Even though it doesn't do that much damage, it's super annoying to fight against. Let's try it again, just to show you. Grab, attack, knock back, grab back. And you can stack it with the other grabs as well, like this, and then after the combo's over, boom. So yeah, that's why this is in number 5. Okay, so in the number 4 spot, we actually have Dark Jokai. This might confuse some of you because you didn't actually think it was that good, but I'm here to show you why. Now, this first move is a block breaker, it grapple disables, and it's an instant cast. So this is very good for countering Bloodlines like Tetsuo Kaijin, Powder Third, all that good stuff. So, another move we have here is the third move. The third move does a ton of damage. So, it's a DOT move, so it takes a while to actually finish dealing all the damage, but after it does, 90k damage is really good. So, the second move is actually counter, so I'm just going to go over to the NPCs right over here and test out the counter. So, as you can see by that damage, that count is no joke. Another thing about the counter is that you can actually use it during moves, similar to Subaru Raiden's counter. So, that's pretty busted, I have to say. But the most busted thing about this is the mode. So if I were to mode up into second mode specifically, I can show you exactly why I like this Bloodline so much. So usually second mode does not do that much damage because unlike logs, players actually get knocked back. So it can't do the full amount of damage. Now, even if you hit it at the wrong angle, it does 60k damage. So that's not a lot for a Q-Spec. But the thing is, if you use it properly, it does a lot more damage. And I'm going to show you on an NPC in a second. So let's just test out these other Q-Specs. I mean, that's okay, 40k damage. And now let's mode up into third. And I believe third mode does 50k damage. And it also sends you into the air. So it actually gives your opponent time to block, which is why I don't specifically like the third mode. And would much prefer the second mode. So as you can see here, bap. That does 50k damage. I just hit the other log next to it, you see. So, let's go back over to these enemies, and I'll show you the second mode Q-Spec and why it's so good. Alright, so you may have noticed that I actually have Getsuga first in my hotbar. Now, that's to actually use with this Bloodline. So if I were to do this, and this, absolute ton of damage. Unfortunately, he died before all of the damage could get hit. But yeah, another thing you can use this with is Cement and Dark Jokai third. So that's a nice clean combo for you. As you can see, my avatar's kind of bugged. But yeah, let's hit another one. Try and get them on me. Then I can use the rest of this move. Oh, I misclicked. I meant to click B. That's my bad. Alright, let's test the rest of the Q-Spec. So, as you can see, they died instantly. In fact, they died so fast I couldn't even get most of the damage off, which is a bit of a shame. But yeah, that's why this Bloodline is in number 4. In the number 3 spot, we have Ashura. Now, I think Ashura is quite underrated. Even though it came out a while ago, it still is a very good Bloodline. Now, the reason for that is probably because it's the best ranged Bloodline in the game. I can use this move, not even look at my enemy, and they will die. It's a stun move as well, as you can see that those little like vines around the enemy, that's a stun. So while it's running, I can actually charge up, and same for this move actually. This move is a really good stun, it block breaks, it tracks, and it steals chi. So that's like a triple threat move right there, really OP. And as for the third move's okay at best. I mean, it's a decent combo ender, but that's all it's good for. Alright, now onto the mode. The mode is very similar to the other Bloodlines I've shown in this video, where you mode up into a Susanoo, have a counter, have extended M1s, all that stuff. So as you can see, you got the extended M1s right here. You have the C-Spec, which does a ton of damage. Unfortunately, I can't actually see with it. There you go. So, C-Spec does 85k, that's okay. The Q-Spec, you mode up, you get new moves. Let's try out the moded E-Spec first. So, yeah, that's actually a stun as well. That is not meant to do that much damage, you just hit the other logs back there. But yeah, it does a decent amount of damage if they keep walking. It's quite similar to the Shadow C-Spec, except, like, much bigger and much more damage. So, let's actually find some NPCs to use this counter on. Alright, as you can see right here, all of them got stunned and took 100k damage each, which is absolutely ridiculous, I have to say, for a counter that drains chi. So you might notice the chi difference I've had now since I've absorbed all of their chi with that counter, and it did 300k damage, which is still ridiculous. And once again, block breaks, stuns, all that good stuff. Okay, so now we're on to the number 2 spot of Kamaki Akuma. Now, this arguably has one of the best modes in the game. Like, it's not even arguably, in all honesty, it's just a fact that this Bloodline is absolutely busted. So if I were to use the first mode, first move, I'm not meant to be moded for that, my bad. Let's go out of mode, use the second move. So the second move is a rapid fire attack, first move is a block breaker with the knockback, which is why nobody uses the first move. But second move is a rapid fire that does a decent amount of damage, and third move is a grapple, which has omnidirectional movement, unlike Tetsuo Kaijin. So, as you can see there, I actually missed it because I was trying to show off the omnidirectional ability. Alright, so this grapple does a decent amount of damage, as you can see right here, just 47k. Now, it's actually extendable as well, so you can keep using moves after the grapple is done, and they can stay in your combo. Now, the best part about this Bloodline has to be the first mode. So, the first mode is pretty alright overall. The C-Spec's basically the same as the third move, except does more damage, so let's use that. Yep, as you can see right there, it's 85k for a C-Spec, which is a grapple and a combo starter. Now, that's really, really good. We also have the Q-Spec, which is an AoE damaging move that does 60k. That's really good too. The E-Spec, I'm not going to show you yet because that's by far the best move in this Bloodline. Instead, I'm going to go over to the second mode, which is basically the same as the first mode, except you have a half Susanoo mode in place of the Q-Spec. So it basically turns into the same kind of Bloodline that Ashura is in terms of mode. So let me just use that real quick. Here we go. As you can see, the M1s aren't as extended as much, and the E-Spec doesn't actually change. So the only thing you get is the 4 times damage reduction, which is a bit of a shame. But yeah, that's where the third mode comes in. So the third mode is basically just a better version of the second mode. So let's actually mode up really quick. As you can see, M1s are very long, do a ton of damage. And we also have an altered E-Spec, which is actually a really good stun. As you can see, they've been sent into the sky, and now they're stuck there for a while. That did 85k. That's insane for an E-Spec, that's instant cast. We also have the C-Spec right here, which works the same as, like, pretty much every other C-Spec, except it does way more damage. As you can see right there, 170k. I believe you're starting to see why this is in the number 2 spot, but let's go back to the first mode and test the E-Spec out. So how the E-Spec works is that it's a counter. Now, every single time he hits me, it reflects 24,000 damage. Every single hit until the counter's over. It does have a small cooldown, I think, of about half a second, but that's it. Alright, so in the number 1 spot we have Code Gaiden. Now, this Bloodline is really versatile and super overpowered, so if we use the first move, it works very similar to Shinobi Kuma's first move, where you summon a couple of clones and they just go attacking the logs. Unfortunately, it doesn't show how much damage it does, but you can probably tell by the amount of damage counters that's appearing on the screen. As for the second move, it's basically infinite M1s, so I can attack this log, and it will keep teleporting back to me every single time I hit it. So I think this allows you to do like 5 M1 combos in total, which is absolutely insane because if you have the right mode, it can do like 300k just from this move alone, so long as you land every M1, that is. As for the third move, it's a grapple. So Unlike other grapples, this actually works on a log, but at the end they get stunned and all of their moves get put on cooldown for 10 seconds, which I think is insane. That's insanely overpowered. So, before testing the mode, let me go over to Ryon boss. Okay, so now that I have a boss, I can show you accurately what the third move does. So let's grab him. So you basically drag them along the floor, and then once it's over, they get stunned, and all of their moves get put on cooldown. I don't believe this will work for bosses though, because obviously they're bosses, not players. But yeah, this Bloodline's pretty trash for PvE, because it's not only high damage, but it requires some sort of skill, so it has a lot of combo potential and such. So the C-Spec is actually a trap. So if he walks into the traps, he gets teleported to me. Unfortunately, I don't believe it works on bosses, so I won't be able to show you this combo, which is absolutely OP because this does about like 400k if you, not 400k, sorry, like 300k if you manage to drag them through every single one of the traps. Now the E-Spec works the same as the second move, except way better. But first I'm going to show you the Q-Spec because you won't stop attacking me. So Q-Spec is the first move, but it's in the counter format. Now, after I get out of this, I'm going to use the E-Spec, which is the second move, as I said before. So I can keep hitting him, he's going to keep teleporting back to me. So yeah, I think that's all of Code Gaiden. Like, it's a super OP Bloodline. If I just started spamming moves, I'd probably end up killing this guy. Like, look how much damage this is doing, and I'm just spamming random moves. I'm not even thinking, I'm just move. It's just 400k already. Not even trying to do any combos, it's just mindless spamming, and it's doing this much. As you can see, that's another thing the second move can do. It's like a grapple afterwards. So if I use it again... Oh, he's almost dead. So look, as you can see on the second move, it has a 5-second cooldown, and if I manage to hit it, I believe I go into an M1 combo. Not an M1 combo, sorry, but like a grapple. So yeah, that's Code Gaiden, and if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe, like, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.